Millions of lives are at stake, and Congressman Bera isn't letting Secretary Rubio off the hook. Will America's foreign aid save them, or will cuts cost lives?
Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record this Inspector General report about the impact of USAID involved in the state. Mr. Secretary, I did not get the chance to know you while you were in the Senate, but like you did, I also have traveled a lot to Africa, have seen firsthand the gratitude of lives that we've saved. After the Ebola crisis in 2014, had a chance to visit villages in Sierra Leone, and just the joy and thanks to the United States. In 2015, you stated this, and again, foreign aid is less than 1% of our budget, but foreign aid can make a difference when properly used. And if you ever have a chance, travel to the African continent and you will meet people who are alive today because their American taxpayer-funded antiviral HIV medications that kept them alive. It will not be easy to radicalize people who are alive because the American taxpayer saved their lives and the lives of their children. Do you still stand by that statement?
Yeah, yes. That's why we're still going to do foreign aid.
Right. So that's incredibly important. As a young doctor in the 1990s, I took care of a lot of people that were dying of HIV and AIDS. It is a painful death. What I hear on the ground in Africa is that these medications aren't getting to folks, that some of the folks that deliver the medications aren't getting to folks and people are dying. We need to do what we did under President Bush with PEPFAR. We've saved over 25 million lives. Nearly 8 million babies are alive today because we prevented them from getting HIV/AIDS. I want to work with you to make sure we continue doing that. That is the goodness of the American people. I'm a little bit older than some of the people on this committee. I grew up looking at pictures of kids that were starving in the 80s. Part of the reason why I became a doctor, part of the reason why I'm on this committee and why I've focused so much on health, nutrition, food aid, is because of pictures like that are embedded in my mind as a kid. We came together as a country. Part of what moral clarity of the United States is we are a country of abundance. President Trump may not think this is in our national security interest, but I think it is in our faith interest. It is who we are as a spiritual nation, as a faith-based nation. We worry about that. We care about relieving starvation and so forth. We've got to do more because I talk to the faith-based groups, I talk to our implementing partners, I read the news stories. I do not want to see more pictures like this coming out, and I'm definitely afraid in the next 30 days, 60 days, 2 years, 4 years, we're going to see more death and starvation because nobody else can do what we do as the United States of America. I'd like your commitment that you will work with us to make sure we continue providing food aid, that we continue doing what we do best based on our moral clarity. Can I have your commitment on that?
Yeah, in fact, that's why we're going to have a humanitarian fund within the Department of State that's going to provide the humanitarian assistance that you've outlined. And we're still going to be by far the largest donor in the world to humanitarian assistance.
And you'll continue to work with this committee, work with us in a bipartisan way, in a bicameral way, to do what we do best. Nobody can do what the United States does.
That's my hope, to be able to continue to work with you in that way. We want to see humanitarian aid. We're going to do more of it than anybody on the planet.
Great. Let's save lives. With that, let me yield the remainder of my time to my colleague from Pennsylvania, Ms. Dean.
Bera did not hold back during the hearing with Secretary Marco Rubio. This was more than just a routine congressional exchange. It was a profound reminder of the real-world impact of U.S. foreign aid and what is at stake when funding is cut or delayed. Bera's questioning went beyond politics. He spoke from experience, from history, and from a moral standpoint that few in the room could ignore. He reminded everyone present that foreign aid is a fraction of the U.S. budget, less than 1%, but its effects ripple across the globe, saving millions of lives and shaping stability in regions that desperately need support. He spoke of his own travels to Africa, witnessing firsthand the gratitude of communities saved from disasters like the Ebola outbreak in 2014. These weren't abstract statistics or news headlines. These were real people whose lives were transformed because of the generosity and foresight of the American people. Bera emphasized that programs like PEPFAR, initiated under President George W. Bush, have been monumental in the fight against HIV/AIDS, saving over 25 million lives and ensuring that nearly 8 million babies were born free from the virus. He recalled his experience as a young doctor in the 1990s, caring for patients dying of HIV/AIDS. He made it clear that when medications don't reach those who need them, the consequences are heartbreakingly real. People die, children suffer, and communities falter. The congressman made a moral argument as much as a practical one. He reminded the committee that the United States is a nation of abundance. There is a spiritual and ethical dimension to foreign aid, rooted in the belief that a nation capable of helping others has a responsibility to do so. When people are starving, when communities are ravaged by disease, the U.S. has historically stepped in, not for political gain, but because it is fundamentally the right thing to do. Bera pressed Secretary Rubio to commit to continuing these efforts, stressing that the world looks to America not just for power or leadership, but for moral clarity and action that saves lives. Secretary Rubio responded, assuring that the U.S. would remain the largest donor of humanitarian aid, and that a dedicated fund within the State Department would support humanitarian efforts. He committed to working with the committee in a bipartisan and bicameral manner. But Bera's questions left an important lesson for viewers. Commitments on paper are only meaningful if they translate into timely and effective action on the ground. Lives are at stake, and accountability matters. What makes this exchange particularly significant is the human element. Bera connected global policy to individual human experiences. The faces of children surviving HIV, the families saved from starvation, the communities protected from the devastation of preventable disease. He reminded everyone watching that U.S. foreign aid is not charity. It is a tool of life, hope, and security that strengthens both the world and America's standing as a nation committed to doing good in the world. As viewers, we can take away more than just the details of this hearing. We can see how policy decisions echo in the lives of millions across the globe, how moral clarity and leadership translate into tangible action, and how advocacy, informed by experience and compassion, can shape outcomes that truly matter. If you care about the impact America has on the world and the lives that depend on our actions, this is the moment to pay attention, to speak up, and to hold leaders accountable. The future of countless lives depends not just on what policies are written, but on whether we choose to act with humanity, responsibility, and clarity.